So good morning, and thank you for joining us on our breakfast sessions. I hope those of you that did register got your breakfast through, and we'll take you through the next hour and just really give you some food for thought on complaints and how to handle those from the back office, but also with your customer in mind. So just wanted to touch very quickly. I hope none of you are in this picture, or if you are, you can circle yourselves. But I don't know how many of you went to Housing 21 this year. It felt really nice to be back face to face and see lots of people. And of course, we were there. But I guess one of the key messages, apart from obviously carbon and net zero, was around accountability of customers, transparency and complaints. And there were some really good sessions from the regulator. And indeed, I think one of my favourites was L&Q talking about their customer engagement and how they're really changing the way in which they deal with complaints and customer involvement in that. So just thought I'd remind any of you that were there, but also just to mention it was a really good session. So the agenda for this morning, and you'll note that I'm trying to whiz through so that we can keep to the hour for you, because we know everybody's got probably very busy diaries. But we're just going to very briefly go through a little bit of context around kind of efficient, effective customer service. We then want to just show you a bit of a demonstration from Optus Homes around the mobile tenant experience. We know that our customers, our tenants are changing the way they engage with us. So we just wanted to show you what Optus Homes are doing within that space. And then also from Crimson, we just want to just take you through a little bit of a demo around managing complaints and cases. And we've got an antisocial behaviour case to take you through, just to show how you can really empower your colleagues to be able to manage customers better. We'll also have a bit of a Q&A, and what I would ask you, if you have got anything, I will be off the screen and monitoring the chat. So do feel free to write questions within the chat and I'll pick them up as we go along. And then we'll have a little bit of time at the end for kind of a general Q&A where you can ask any of our speakers today some questions. So just as a bit of a formal introduction, I think most of you know Crimson. For those of you that are new, and maybe this is your first breakfast session, we're Crimson. We are a Microsoft Gold partner, and we specialise in really supporting housing associations and councils to really make the best value out of their Microsoft technologies and platforms. And we really focus not on the technology, but on really trying to help solve some of your challenges that you have within housing and how technology can really be the enabler for you. Today, we're also really lucky to have Jerry from Optus Homes. So Jerry, I don't know if you want to just quickly introduce yourself.
Yes, certainly. Thanks, Ciara. Hello and good morning, everybody. Great to see such a large crowd. My name is Jerry Kelly. I'm CEO at Optus Homes. Now, despite how the name sounds, we're not a landlord, we're not a housing association. We're actually a prop tech company specializing in tenant apps and the power of intuitive and powerful tenant apps. So very shortly, I'll be doing a demo of the app and how it's integrated back into the Crimson environment. So looking forward to doing that very shortly. Thank you.
Excellent. And you'll be able to see Jerry shortly when he takes over presenting. Excuse me. So just really quickly then, complaints. We've talked about complaints. This was some research done from the CIH back in January. No surprise to any of you. The biggest area of which our customers complain to us is around property condition, or repairs, as we probably call it. And then secondary tenants' behaviour, which is often around tenants' antisocial behaviour. So most of you will relate to this. These are the main breakdown of categories of what housing association gets complaints about. So what's driving the change? You're all housing professionals on here, so you're very aware of a lot of the policies and the changes and the charters that are about, that are really, really driving now a shift, or more of a shift, should we say, because many of us would say that we already very much engage our customers, but there really is now some regulation around ensuring that our customers can hold our landlords and hold us to account. And complaints is really key to that. And we've seen through the white paper lots and lots of discussions about how we can make sure that tenants are really influencing services, how they're able to complain, get responses to complain, and also hold their landlord to account. We've got the Ombudsman Complaint Handling Code, and many of you will have already adopted the Code of Governance, which really is putting a lot more accountability on the boards to make sure that they're really understanding what our customers are complaining about, but also what we're doing about it, how we're managing that, and also that we're taking some real lessons learned from that. I was actually on a workshop on Tuesday with a number of tenants and board directors talking about, are we really clear on what that means and what improvements can we make and do we need to make? Because we think we've got quite a good, robust process, but there's always room for improvement. But second to that, there is also this technology era. So the way in which our customers now complain to us is very different. I'm sure many of you will relate to the picture at the bottom there of a household there with children, mum and dad, everybody on gadgets, very much like my house. But it just means that our customers now are able to access us a lot easier, a lot quicker. But it also means that their expectations have changed. So whereas we might have very kind of robust complaints procedures with, we'll respond within X amount, we'll aim to complete your complaint with a resolution within a certain amount of time, our customers' expectations are very different now. They want to be communicated with more. They want to know at what stage what is happening. And it's really key that we understand that. And that's what's really driving the change towards using technology more to be that enabler and help us. So just before we go into the demo, just some piece of research that Microsoft have done lately with Gartner is around actually out of sector, so looking in the private sector, the day-to-day companies you and I all engage with and our tenants do, 81% of customers said they would be willing to pay for a better customer service. And actually, the cost to deliver that better customer service through some of the different technologies and some of the automation that's now available would actually reduce the cost of serving those customers by 50%. So actually, there's a win because your customers may pay more for a better service, but actually, you're going to reduce your costs in delivering that. So whilst our customers within housing are not necessarily going to pay for a different service, although there are conversations about different levels of service we may choose to provide in the future. But nevertheless, with that mindset, we have to think that they're dealing with lots of other organisations, and that is their expectation. And they're addressing that expectation. So therefore, they have that expectation of us within housing. But actually doing it right and using the technology can actually help save and make efficiencies. So the key messages for today, and I'm going to hand over to Jerry and then actually Ollie, who is my colleague from Crimson, who, apologies, didn't introduce you at the start, but Ollie, I'm sure, will introduce himself, but he's going to then take you through the empowering our colleagues to deliver a better service and a great service through using the Dynamics Empower platform.
Yeah, it's about the chatbot.
And Jerry is going to take us through the key message there around that modern and exceptional experiences to customers and tenants. I think someone's got their mic on. We'll get that just on. So I'm going to hand you over now to Jerry. If you want to take control of my screen, Jerry, and just take us through, tell us a little bit about your app, your customer app, and how we know seamlessly it integrates into the Dynamics platform, but take us through your demonstration.
Will do. Again, thank you, Kira. Just switch screens here, folks. Bear with me. So, visible? Yes. Hello again, everybody. This is Jerry at Optus Homes. So I think the first thing to stress is we're going to walk through a demo of what is a tenant's mobile app rather than a tenant's web portal. A web portal can play on a mobile, a responsive web portal can play on a mobile, but a tenant's mobile app is designed to run on a mobile phone, and as such is inherently more powerful and can access more features of the phone itself. So there is a difference between a mobile app and a tenant's web portal. So what we're looking at here is demo of a genuine mobile app. The brand you're looking at here, this is just in our brand, just for demonstration purposes. But of course, we supply this in landlords' individual brands because it's a white label service. So this would be supplied as individual landlords in their brand. So what does our app look like? And before we start, I just want to reference back to Kira's chart where she spoke about the key elements of complaints, and that was a CIH chart with regards to analysis on historic complaints. And property condition, if you think of repairs and maintenance, was the biggest one with 35%, and tenant behavior, or as Kira said, antisocial behavior, was 12%, then followed by complaints handling, including communications and management, etc., and charges around rent and service charges, etc. So we're going to try and look at how those various elements play into the app itself. So what does the app look like? This is the standard layout for the app, and I'll walk through what each of these means in just a moment. But if we just look first of all at our notional tenant here, he's an individual called Alex McCarthy, and in the app itself we hold various information on Alex, personal information, and also credentials for logging into the app. These are supplied by a landlord. This is all we hold on a tenant. Everything else is held at your back end in your Dynamics environment. And you can also make various documents available to Alex as you see fit. So the layout of the app is, we use these cards, and design is very, very important in an app. Everybody compares their new app to their top 10 apps that they have in their pocket. But this card here on top, this is a personal message card from the landlord to Alex. So only Alex sees this message here. Whereas this one underneath, the second one here, this is a group message. So this is a message that a landlord can send to all tenants, if you wish, just to say that the office is closed for Christmas, let's say, or a group of tenants in a particular housing estate or a tower block, or just the 5th floor of a particular tower block. So there's personal messages and group messages, and then there's various call to actions. If we jump into repairs, first of all, down here, because, property condition and repairs and management, as we saw, was the biggest single source of complaints. Very simple to log a repair, and we take Alex through a process here, which is a triage process. And at the back end of that triage process, it generates a code in your environment, which is, let's say, an SOR code or something similar to that. Alex just has to select, is it my property or a communal area, inside or outside? And then you can see we're progressing through this triage process here. He then chooses the area, let's say it's the bathroom, and then the fault in that area, which in this case might be a broken shower. We can then go a little bit deeper and effectively ask if it's an emergency. You may have a different categorization for emergencies, but let's say it's not an emergency. And Alex can then add some information with regards to some free text that he can add in with regards to the issue itself, and then add up to 3 pictures or videos. So 3 pictures, 3 videos, or a combination of pictures and videos, which are uploaded with the repair itself. Now, normally logging a repair would kind of finish there. If you're using something like a web portal playing on a mobile, it would finish there. However, because our app is integrated into the Dynamics environment as well, and also integrated into the resource scheduler, it means we can go a step further. And when Alex logs his repair, he's then immediately presented with dates for the repair worker to come and take care of that repair. Now, where are these coming from? They're coming from whatever resource scheduling system you're using. The app would be integrated into that. So these are dates that are coming from the landlord and your repairs workers. These are dates that suit you, that are being presented to the tenant. Typically, we'll present 3, and then after that, if they're not suitable, we'll present up as far as 9. Pick a particular date, particular time slot, and then that is now booked for Alex. He's now logged a repair and also confirmed a visit time for that repair itself, and he's back to his dashboard. If a repair has been done previously and it's in progress, Alex can track it, and depending on your repair workers, if they've got in-car tracking or mobile phone tracking, We can offer a service almost like an Uber taxi or Deliveroo pizza. We can track exactly where the repair worker is. Alternatively, if a repair is closed, if it's been completed, as soon as you mark it as closed at the back end, then obviously Alex can't track it anymore, but he will automatically receive a survey. And this is a satisfaction survey. So this is equivalent to using something like SurveyMonkey, but it's built into the app itself. And these questions are customizable, so you can have 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, however many questions you want, and whichever format you want them in. Alex completes the survey, and that comes back automatically in as a satisfaction survey. So on the whole, that first big area of property condition and reporting and repair is very, very straightforward, but extremely powerful in the sense that it will also log book a repair visit date. If we look at support, it can be used to quite simply book a visit with a support worker. It could be a call or a visit, and select a time in the same way we did for repair. And as long as that is accepted, a particular issue that Alex wants to talk about, in this case, financial issues, then the support area can be used to book. So that comes back to the communication piece with regards to handling repairs. And that might be following up on a case or an individual repair or anything like that. But also, Alex can report antisocial behavior. So the antisocial behavior also goes through this triage process here. So in this case, Alex wants to report something which he believes is antisocial and needs to be taken care of. He's asked, is it in his property, another property, or a communal area? Alex says it's in a communal area. Is it inside or outside? Let's say it's inside. And again, we're going through this triage process here. Which of the communal areas is it? Stairs, corridor? Alex says it's in another area. Because we know Alex's address, we know he's in a 3-story building. So we ask Alex, which floor is it on? In this case, it's on the ground floor. And then the description of where that problem is, it's in the porch, on the door, and on the mat and carpet, the doormat and carpet. And then Alex is asked, what is the nature of that antisocial behavior? Is it fly tipping? Is it noise? And again, all of these screens are customizable. So you want to add additional ones, that's all possible. It could be dangerous dogs, it could be drug dealing. In Alex's case, he's reporting dog mess. So Alex McCarthy has reported dog mess as an antisocial behavior report. And then that is logged and back into your environment in your system. So not only building condition and repairs, but also reporting antisocial behavior, extremely simple. And every time there's any communication from the app into your backend environment, it automatically generates a recognition on that. So there'll be notifications back into Alex to say that it has been received and logged. Additional information can be put in here, such as local services or Q&A features or anything like that can be added in here as additional details on each one of these sections here. I'm going to jump into this section here, which is, I have it marked as live chat, but it could just as easily be a chatbot. Now, many of you will have a chatbot. If you don't, you'll be considering getting a chatbot, or some of you will have a live chat service. They're becoming very popular and they are extremely powerful. We don't supply chatbots. We work with companies that do. So in this particular case, this is a standard message to Alex saying, hi, Alex, welcome to Optus Homes. But if Alex decides that in actual fact, English is not his first language, but maybe he's a native Polish speaker, Alex will see that message in Polish and he'll be able to reply to that message in Polish, and the chatbot or the live chat agent will see that message in English, because we're routing this through the Azure backend cognitive services engine, which allows us to translate it on the fly. So this allows much easier communications for complaint handling by using a chatbot or a live chat and translating on the fly. So think of all the languages that you might want to do, anything from European languages to Asian languages to, I don't know, Irish, Gaelic, whatever. They'll all be in there. There will be in the Microsoft engine. Lastly, I'm going to touch very briefly on rent. And again, one of the key, I think the number 4 in the list of Kira's on that chart was charges. And charges and querying rent and querying charges is a big issue. And with the recent lockdown and arrears, these are becoming even more and more important. So in this environment, a tenant, because it's again integrated into your back-end environment, a tenant can look at their current situation, whether it's a charge or their rent due, or maybe look at their rent history. And again, we pull all this from your environment. So we're not storing it in our app or our back-end. It's pulled on the fly in your environment. And they can look at their rent payment history, view a full list, and go back as far as the start of their tenancy, if you allow them to do that. So you control how many months they will be able to see, but they'll be able to look at their rent history. Similarly with charges or anything similar to that, or they'll be able to make a payment. They'll be able to make a payment of a service charge or rent. So in this particular case, Alex's outstanding rent is £801, and he has some credit, so he's short £55. So his next payment is £856. Again, in our app, we will integrate into your payment gateway provider of choice. We are not a payment gateway provider. We are not an AllPay or a Pay360 or a Stripe or a WorldPay, but we will integrate with those so that you continue using your existing payment gateway provider, but the tenant will be able to do that and access that environment via this app. So it's all in one environment. So if you think of the benefits of an app that does not only reporting repairs and antisocial behavior and paying rent and communication, but it reduces the number of app environments that you have to offer to your tenant because it's all aggregated into one. I will mention as well that these personal messages here on top, these messages are designed to be two-way. So a landlord can create the message and send it to Alex. Alex can reply to that message and it can go over and back as many times as you wish. Or Alex can originate a message and send it to the landlord, and that will go straight into your CRM environment and be seen as a communication from your tenant, and the landlord can reply over and back as many times as you wish. So this is almost replacing something like WhatsApp for Business. And as we said, the survey engine will replace something like SurveyMonkey. The community messages, the group messages are one way. You don't want everybody replying to the message that says the office is closed for Christmas. So folks, that's a quick tour through the app and what it does relating to complaints. And again, to stress, all integrated back into your Dynamics environment.
Thank you. Thanks, Jerry. And I think one of the really important things, and Ollie's just going to share his screen, where one of the really important things is recognising that mobiles now, I think the internet is accessed by around over 90%. Don't quote me on the exact figure, but I know recent surveys are saying that our residents are contacting us via mobiles on about 90% of cases. The reason that we have quite a lot of call failure demands and what you might call follow-on complaints is because the applications that people are using are not being responded to with the customer's expectation. So they put something on through an app or through a mobile device, and they expect to get responses and things back very, very quickly. And they're not doing that. So therefore, they're then picking up the phone and obviously phoning through. But I think showing that app and how it can integrate into your back-end solutions, in our case, into the Dynamics platform, hopefully was quite informative. I'm just going to pick up on the one question that I've just written a massive essay about, that Scott's asked, but I'll just respond to it now, which is around your customers might report an incident such as dog fouling in an area that's not within your management. And this can happen quite a lot where you've got open spaces. If you were a curtilage transfer, which many of some of the smaller organisations were, that there may be an issue, but it's not on your land, but the resident assumes it's yours because you've got all the other properties around there. So they may send a request in. The question was actually, can you, is there a way of almost automatically going back to the customer if it's not within your management? And the answer is yes, because the way in which you allow your customers to report the issue, so a very basic example, to put a postcode in or to put a street name in, you're able then to, when that request comes in, almost match that against the information and the data that you have in your back office. If you don't have that particular postcode or that street or that area defined within your back end solution, either your housing management solution or your Dynamics platform, then automatically that query will produce a negative. So, i.e., it's not a piece of land that you own or manage. And it can automatically respond back to that customer to say, please contact your local authority or wherever you choose to direct them to. And that can all be done without any human intervention. And again, from that customer's perspective, that's just sick of constantly complaining to you about a piece of land where there might be dog fouling, for example, you can easily respond back to them very, very quickly when they put that in. So yes, that can be done.
And Ciara, just sorry for cutting across you, just to support that as well. And the app, in order to help enable that at your back end, the app can do geotagging, so that if there is something reported, I don't know, an abandoned car or dog fouling or graffiti or whatever, once pictures are taken, they can be geotagged, and as you said, feed into your system, Ciara, that will automatically allow. So, and that is one of the fundamental differences of a genuine mobile app versus a web portal playing on a mobile phone. Sorry, Ciara.
No, absolutely. And I think, again, as with everything, it does depend on the information that you hold in your back end solutions to be able to do that. So everything, as we know, always comes back to data. Just one last question that was on there around the application, Jerry. Can it interface with social media, WhatsApps, Twitters, Facebooks, etc.? And I think, Ollie, you might cover a little bit of that when we come on to Dynamics.
So the app itself is designed to be self-contained. So if you want to do messaging, of course you can still do WhatsApp and you can still do SurveyMonkey for servers, but the app is designed to allow you not use those if you so wish. We do integrate automatically with emails and SMS. We haven't integrated yet with WhatsApp, but it is on the roadmap. So I would say a cautious yes to that. It's very straightforward. This is a modern, intuitive app, so we will be able to do that. Right now, it's SMS and email. It can integrate with. Social media will follow.
Okie dokie. And just one last one, because I'm picking them up because they seem quite relevant. Again, does the app only interface with Dynamics backend solutions? I'm going to say no, but Jerry, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, indeed. So no, we will. I mean, it's very easy to say that we will integrate with everything, but we do integrate with, and we're in discussions with all of the major HMS providers, and we've got a couple of clients which are already live, and they're not using Dynamics, or Dynamics isn't their housing management system. So yes, be happy to talk to you about other systems as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the purpose for ourselves, as you know, we're a gold partner Microsoft, so we're showing you obviously from the Microsoft angle, but absolutely the app is independent and can integrate. Again, what I'll always say is the app itself, as Jerry's kind of said, can integrate with anything, a little bit like Dynamics, but it always depends on what that backend solution can integrate with. So quite often it's quite easy integrating into a solution, but it's about getting the information back out of it. So I always give caution that a lot of the newer technologies are very open to integrating with lots of things, but it's often some of the older solutions. And I'm going to hand over to Ollie now to take us through what we've shown you there is that from that customer side, but managing complaints and cases is really important that our colleagues can manage them to the best of their ability. And you'll probably, you'll hear, especially when complaints come in, and we know communication is always key in complaints. How many times do you read the letter where the reason that the customer has complained is almost forgotten because they're just so annoyed that nobody's got back to them, that it's gone round the mill of all the different people that have need to engage with it? And we also know that cases and complaints are very rarely needing to be dealt with by one person. They often need multiple people in the organisation to dip in. So you might find that the complaint was about ASB, but in the middle of that, they might mention that, oh, and I told my housing officer this, and by the way, this is happening, and also I might need this. So when it comes in, the customer's expectation is that that case will be dealt with really promptly and in their mind, often by just one person. But we know that often there are different departments that need to link into this. And the biggest frustration when complaints get escalated is the fact that nobody got back to them and there wasn't transparency with where that journey and complaint was going. And interestingly, the conversation I had only Tuesday was, do we measure complaints by we have a service level agreement that will respond within 11 days? 10 days, 5 days? Or is it about having that understanding with the customer about what is their expectation and managing it? If we told them that it would be 20 days to manage their case through, and we manage that with communication and their expectation all the way, we're really setting that from day one instead of actually a very blanket approach, which often can lead expectations a little bit differently. So I'm going to hand over to Ollie now. Ollie, please introduce yourself, because I didn't really introduce you very well at the beginning, other than it's Ollie from Crimson. But please introduce yourself and share with us a little bit about the back office and how we can make this a lot easier for our colleagues.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Kira. Yeah, hi guys. I'm Ollie Sinclair, principal consultant for the cloud practice in Crimson. So I predominantly just really sort of I'm a different roles. I'm a pre-sales guy, but also I actually am a bit of a solution architect on some of the enterprise projects that we're implementing within Crimson. And really, what I want to show you today is we've had a great demonstration from Jerry around what your customers will see, what the tenants will see, but it is vitally important to have that a good process, a good understanding, and some representation of some good data for the users of the system, whether that would be housing officers, people dealing with complaints, managers, and so on. So everybody will be able to see as much information as they need to get their job done in the most efficient way. And I think that's a really, really important message. So what I'm showing on my screen at the moment, for those of you who are familiar with Dynamics, hopefully this will look very, very, very familiar. Dynamics has this concept of apps, not like a mobile app that Jerry was showing, but more sort of back office applications that are very focused on specific jobs or tasks or areas of your business that you need to process some information. So just having a look on here, what I'm going to take you through is one of the applications that we've got in our housing accelerator, which we've built on Dynamics 365, called Housing Services. But as you can see, there's a couple of other ones that we've shown here. Interestingly, the resource scheduling side. So when Jerry was talking about raising the repairs. If you are sort of a repair manager working for your housing association, you could potentially have a look at how you're scheduling and how the process is being scheduled for repairs. There's also some other elements around applications and tenancies, which for any of you guys that were in the other breakfast webinar, we touched on applications and tenancies as well. So what I'm going to go through is housing services. Now, the first thing to know is that Microsoft Dynamics has a really good navigation screen where you can see everything on the left-hand side, and it has some really, really important things around dashboards where you can see things like active cases split by specific subjects, or a timeline, or any of your cases that are resolved recently. So a dashboard is a very, very quick way when you jump into Dynamics just to quickly have a look at what's going on. Now, going back to the scenario with Alex McCarthy, I've just gone ahead and just very quickly found Alex McCarthy's profile within the system. So I'm looking on and finding out, what's happened with Alex McCarthy, what's going on. And the first thing we can see is obviously we've got the same details as what's represented in the app. We also have a link to his tenancies, any of his applications that he's gone through, some hacked information there as well. But on this right-hand side, you can see that there's something called a timeline. Now, this is where, again, we are consuming some of this information around the appointments. So that community officer discuss financial issues is there. The gas checking has been booked, and the grass cutting. So anything that relates to Alex that we're trying to surface onto the mobile app, you will actually be able to interrogate and come and have a look at when you're directly looking at the person within Dynamics. And again, from an ASB perspective, you can see that that dog mess is also related to Alex as well. Now, what's really, really useful about Dynamics 365, very recently, they've come up with a thing called in-app notifications. Now, when we're doing our day work, we're busy working within the system or within Teams. Sometimes you miss emails, you miss elements. But within Dynamics 365, there's a thing called notifications. So when you are actually currently working on elements, things will come across that relate to yourself. Now, I am, I'm jumping in on this system as a housing officer, and I actually own the patch where Alex is residing. And I've actually been informed of that ASB dog mess incident. So rather than having to search through anything, this notification has come up and said that there's an ASB incident that was created. So I need to go in and have a look and find out what's going on with that one. So you can very quickly jump into what we classify within Dynamics as an ASB incident. Now, I'm just going to quickly pause there and just sort of show you the different sort of ways that we represent data within Dynamics. This is known as a form, and this will hold specific information about a record. There is other navigation elements where we can have a look at subgrids. We can have a look at a list of different records, sort of all in like a spreadsheet form, but with a nicer UI within Dynamics. And what's really useful about this form is that in the middle we've got this thing called the process bar. Now the process bar is used so that people can be guided through a specific process, but also very, very quickly, anybody jumping onto this record can see the status, where it's been at, and what's been done, and how long it's been there. So I can see that at the moment, the dog mess has just been submitted, so it's in the identify stage, but you can see that some of this information has been populated, in the porch, on the doormat and carpet, just as what the mobile app was specifying. Now, what I need to do here is go ahead and complete this journey, really. So it's guiding me through and asking me questions and prompting me to think about what I need to do next. So some of this stuff has already been populated by the mobile app, which is really good. There's questions and things that can be answered. Has it been reported anonymously? No, because it's come through the mobile app. Is the perpetrator known? No. Is anybody at immediate risk? It's only dog poo. I don't think so. So what we're going to do is go on to the next stage now, where we're going to have a look at the details and maybe the decisions. And this potentially, if you don't have the information, what Kira was saying earlier in terms of matching to specific locations or specific properties, there may be that you can, the geotagging's gone in, but you actually have to go and maybe find the specific location or updating those informations. Things around the incident date. So if the incident dates come in, and then further details, some of this obviously populated by the mobile app, which is great. If we were creating this from scratch, for example, if somebody was reporting this face-to-face, I'd have Dynamics up maybe on my tablet, and I could actually populate this as a housing officer. So I could raise this ASB incident as a housing officer without any of the sort of the front end from the mobile app. Brilliant. So we can get to the issues quicker. Again, a couple of other things, any safeguarding concerns, and are we looking to create a case for this? This is a relatively straightforward sort of trivial ASB incident, which potentially could get resolved relatively quickly. So we're just going to go across and we're going to supply an incident closure reason, and really no further action required apart from we might be talking to Alex so saying, yeah, apologies for this, we're going to make sure that if this happens again, we're going to maybe raise a case or maybe raise an incident, do some investigation. At the moment, we're just going to say no further action required, and then we can go ahead and close the case. So that is a really good example of very, very quickly, most of that information is provided by the tenant. The housing officer is alerted by the system, and they're being able to jump in, have a look at that ASB case, process anything they need to, be guided by that process, and then finish off the ASB incident. What I would say is this is highly configurable, and you can have different types of processes, maybe depending upon the type of ASB, the type of incident, or the process that you guys adopt for yourselves. So again, this is showing an example. It is absolutely configurable and is really quite versatile in those areas. So I'm just going to finish that off and close that down there. So that's a really good example of an end-to-end ASB. Okay, so going on a little bit further, what happens if maybe this ASB incident is slightly more complex, or there are things that we need to do to actually manage the process, and as Kira was saying, maybe involve other teams, other departments, and it's probably more of an ASB case. So what I'm going to go through is taking you through an ASB incident that actually was a little bit more complex, a little bit more serious. So what we have here is another ASB incident called threatening behaviour. What we've done, again, Alex is the primary victim for this one. And again, this has been raised through the same way, but what we actually have is it's more of a sort of hate related. We've done and gone through the simple process in terms of identifying it and having a look at those details. But what we've actually said here is that actually, this is something that we do need to investigate, we do need to escalate, and we need to create a case for. We also supply a reason for creating that case. We know this will turn into a bit of a complex issue, and we're going to go forward. So because we've specified that this is a more of a complex issue, as you can see, this business process bar has changed a little bit, and now we're going to undertaking casework. So this ASB incident has turned into what we classify within the accelerator as a case. We can specify, what these type of records are called, depending on what you guys call them. But as you can see here, there's a lot more information on this business process bar in terms of guiding us through an elongated process, where it's actually gone into case management. So we've also populated, and this has been driven from the ASB incident. So we've linked the contact, and we've updated the tenancy. You can see that the unit is there, and you can see that there's a specific timeline for this incident. So yes, we've got a timeline then when we look at Alex McCarthy, which shows, things like grass cutting, other appointments that don't relate to this case. But you can come in here and actually specifically see what is going on and what is happening within this case. So at the moment, we're undertaking the casework. And the first thing we need to have a look at is, what's the risk and what's the priority of this case. Now, it may be that we want to be doing a risk assessment on this one. And now this is where, again, another new feature of Dynamics has come in, which is being able to open up a new application. It's a little bit more of a canvas app sort of scenario where you have a little bit more control of the UI. So I'm going to launch an ASB RAC, and actually that will open up a risk assessment. Now, rather than having specific fields with maybe a small title just to give you an understanding of what to enter in those fields, this one is a little bit more of an assessment, more of a questionnaire, things that you can go through. So because we've opened up into a Canvas application, we've actually can see that we've got longer questions, which will be able to specify some more information, but also have space on the screen for prompting our housing officers, our support officers, to be able to remember and be prompted what the process is, and maybe prompting some of those questions and making sure that we get the right detail, so we can be guided through not only the questions through the Canvas app, but also the actual overall process. So if there are any immediate advice or immediate things that we need to do, we're prompted by showing that process on there. So being able to process that and having that, we can update, say the risk priority is a medium. We've completed the risk assessment, and we specified that was completed today. What we can do is, yes, we can go and see all of this information here, but as we always like to do, we sit on the process bar, and that gives us that guide of what recommends we do next. So at the moment, you know, have we updated the complainant? Have we created any actions? I'm going to say yes. And the next action type was a face-to-face meeting. Now, as you can see here, I've already had a you know, Blue Peter moment. I've already created an appointment, an initial meeting, and actually this is identified as overdue. So it may be that I need to change the time and communicate with with Alex to get a better time for doing that initial initial meeting. What we can do is go into the next stage, which would be mediation. So again, some of these prompts and some of the ways that we can go through here, if we, for example, undertook the casework, we had the appointment, and we're on to other things within Dynamics. If we jump back to this case, you can already say that the casework has been undertaken and we're at mediation stage at the moment. So I'm going to say yes, both parties agree to mediation. And as you can see, this business process bar will start taking us through some of those additional journeys that we need to do. So we can start populating things like referral dates. We can actually complete that, and we can specify what that outcome may be. Going forward, it's potential that there may be some enforcements that may happen as a result of this case and a result of the mediation. So we can specify that here. And start creating those elements. What's also good to know is that Dynamics integrates natively with SharePoint. So in terms of any documentation that might have happened or anything that we're talking, say, for example, the risk assessment's been gone, we've gone through that application, we've generated the risk assessment documentation, that can automatically be associated to this case. And if we had a look at documentation, you can see some examples of the risk assessment and the case summary. And the really good thing about case summary is within here, you've got some word templates that you'll be able to go ahead and double click, and it would generate a case summary for you. And then you would be able to send that to maybe some third parties that are involved in this element. So again, some really, really powerful features of Dynamics that allow us to process this and make sure that we're communicating with the relevant people at the right time. In terms of say, for example, you know, I'm the housing officer, but in terms of the mediation, we have a specialist officer that deals with these type of cases. Being able to assign these cases to another person, so I could reassign it to another user or team, and that would allow us to then route this to the specific team or the specific people that are responsible for that. And then having a look at that behind the scenes, I would be picking up, I'd get another notification to say that something had been assigned to me as a mediation officer, and I could go ahead and pick up where I had left off, and then we can go ahead and complete the journey. So again, a lot of things in terms of reassigning and case assigning and assigning it to a queue, getting other people to pick it up. It's not going to be lost within the ether, and it's just going to be held here. It's always going to be assigned to somebody that will be able to chase that and process that through. So I'm really conscious of time. The final thing is just to show you, obviously, Alex McCarthy, again, has that tenancy information. Back to Jerry's point in terms of the app. We also do have some information on the accountancy. So all of this information around the payments and accountancy stuff has come from Dynamics and has come from these records here, which actually surmise, you know, the current balance and the next payments being 856.63. So what you can see here is that doesn't matter where you are in the system, you would always be able to get to the right information and have a good understanding of the tenant or the process or whatever you're going to be involved in. Conscious of time, so I'm probably just going to pause it there and I'll just crack on.
Yeah, thanks, Ollie. And just picking up on a couple of the comments. So I think, Lisa, your comment around the ASB and then the handling, I think there was a couple of things we wanted to just highlight really within those demonstrations really is around the case management. So you're absolutely right that we've used an ASB as an example so that we can show you a lot more functionality. But absolutely, a complaint coming in, one of the things that Ollie showed you was the communication timeline. So a complaint coming in about a repair or about ASB. So for example, I don't think my ASB was handled particularly well. I'm still not happy. I want this escalated. You then have the opportunity to go in and look at that case in a very simple way and be able to see the whole timeline in one single view of what's happened with that customer, who's had it, where it's been, what's been done, in a very concise way. From that, then you'll be able to understand who maybe needs to be part of your case. So again, one of the things that Ollie just showed there around assigning things. So I hope we don't have as many letters anymore of complaints that often go in drawers and go on desks and get handed round to people, but actually being able to show that within the system and actually look at who may have been involved in that particular case and ensure that you have comments or you can assign parts of the complaint to them can be done very easily. And you can also attach any service any kind of service delivery times against them, any SLAs in when you want something to be replied to. What I think is really key, and the app has kind of showed it from the front end, and we don't have time really to show the kind of whole 360 back, but one of the key things is around being able to be very transparent with your customers on complaints and cases. So what is the beauty of something like Dynamics and many systems, but in this case Dynamics, is every stage that you're taking that customer through, every process is consistent. So every customer goes through that same process. What you can do is transpose that in an app or indeed in the portal, so that at any point the customer knows where they are in that journey of their complaint. So when we talk about managing expectations, whether it be a case, whether it be a complaint, you can make sure that you're very transparent with your customer about where it is in that stage, how long it's been there, who's been dealing with it. Now, some people are a bit scared of that, and they've said to me before, yeah, I know, but I don't think we're quite there yet, Kira. You know, I don't want to be showing that whole journey map and the fact that it's stuck on there for 3 weeks because somebody's gone on leave or it went somewhere else. Again, you have so many automation tools now that if somebody went off sick or if somebody wasn't there, that work or that case, that complaint can be assigned very quickly back to somebody else to deal with. And the customer can see that you're reactive in terms of following through your process and where that's going. And I think one of the things, again, that does waste a lot of time on complaints, and having dealt with many complaints in my time in housing, is that you get it put in front of you. And the question is, what's happened here? What happened? You know, why are we here? And you spend an awful lot of time having to go around lots of places, different systems, different spreadsheets, often emails, to try and find out what actually happened. And part of what we've tried to show you today is by managing cases in the first instance in a more organized way, using some of the process flows that Ollie showed you, means that hopefully you would reduce some of your complaints in terms of how the case has been handled, because actually you've been able to show all the way through where they've gone, who's done them, and also have accountability for those people that own those things. And I just wanted to touch on one other point that was a little bit of a theme, which was around, can the app, which everybody's really quite interested in, Jerry, which is great, hence why we're supporting it, is, you know, the age question. Does it have to go into Dynamics? Can it integrate with other systems? And I think I've put in the chat there, and just to be really clear, absolutely, the app that has been built can integrate. I think same with anything is always quite an open comment, but absolutely, it's very open coded. It can be integrate with systems. I think what I've always say, and I say to a lot of housing associations, is some of the traditional housing management systems don't always have the APIs or the ability to allow you to integrate in. A lot of the new technologies, by the nature of how they're built, and we've seen a real increase in things like CRM for Dynamics, because actually they are very, very open and are new technologies that can integrate with everything. But what you need to look at is your back end solution, is what can it integrate with, and quite often getting information out of it. So I don't want to name housing solutions, but somebody's mentioned Active H, for example, and Orchard. You can get data quite easily out of them sometimes. But if you put in that data out into the customer app, you need to be able to get the data that the customer tells you in the app back into that solution. And that's where sometimes it does become a challenge. And that's why many people are looking at either integration layers or actually looking at data warehouses or data platforms, or many are looking at a CRM solution, which actually gives you that 360 of a customer sitting on top of what will be your housing management system. So just having a very quick look through some of the questions. Yes, we will absolutely share the recording, and you can share it with who you choose. Do Dynamics 365 notifications extend to customer portals as push notifications? Ollie, could you answer that for me?
Yeah, I was literally just typing away, just about to answer that one. Yeah, absolutely. So push notifications from the Power Apps portal, which is the Microsoft offering of customer portals, can be produced on that one. So yes.
And again, will we put the recording on YouTube? So I looked at Emily, who's our marketing guru on here. I'm going to say yes, and let's hope that we can magically do that. I'm sure we can.
Yeah,
and we can get
yeah,
the
it will go up on YouTube, Kira. Sorry.
Excellent. No, that's brilliant. I'm conscious of everybody's time, and we do promise to keep these breakfast sessions quite snappy. Has anybody got anything that they wanted to quickly raise or ask? And I'll go quiet for a minute and just see. No, which is great. So we've got the questions on there. We will share this. I'll just share my my last slides just to finish off. So again, great demonstrations there. Hope you found those useful. Just a few takeaways from you. There is the opportunity to have proof of concepts around complaints and cases funded. So if any of you are interested in understanding a little bit more around the Dynamics offering, the Power Platform, and maybe what that could look like with some of your back end housing management systems, or indeed using that as a housing platform, then do let us know. Get in touch with us, because there is funding for some of these proof of concepts available. And also from the from Optus and from the mobile, if any of you want some sessions or want to know a little bit more, we will make sure that Jerry gets in touch with you directly. And also if you want that to be done together, so we can show you how that would all look tied in. But do reach out. We'll also be dropping you a line as well. But if you are looking and interested, then please get in touch. And just lastly, the usual little pun at the end, do give us a follow on LinkedIn and social media. We do try to keep it as up to date with lots of different blogs and updates and tips and hints. And of course, if you can leave us any feedback. What we like to do with these breakfast sessions is keep them short, snappy, make sure you have something to eat, those that the first 50 that registered, but also keep them topical. So if there's anything that you'd like to see or you'd like to know more about, please let us know, and we'll make sure that that's on the next breakfast session. So all that's left to say is thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day and the weekend, and we will catch up with you soon. Thank you.